Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm finally getting around to getting this video done and uploaded for you guys on the poverty paper. I'm going to go ahead and go over it, so if you want to pull it up or print it out and you can follow along with me. But if you look at the first part, number one, it says create a chart showing a detailed budget with how much you currently spend per month and what is spent on you. And that includes housing, tuition, food, utilities, and all other expenses. So you're going to create a chart or a budget and list everything, not just that you pay, but people pay for you. So, like, if your parents pay for your car or car insurance, you need to list that on there. If they pay for your cell phone, anything that anybody else pays for, you need to put on there, because even though someone you might not pay it, somebody's providing it for you. So you need to make sure um, that you have that on there. If you look at the first bullet under that, you will be writing this as if you were already in college. You will use the college that you plan to or may attend. So instead of doing this kind of currently, we're kind of working forward, I guess you would say, in a way. So you would use the Sometimes I just lose my train of thought. So what you would do is pick whatever college you think you might attend. So whether that's somewhere in state or somewhere out of state, use that. And for the tuition, well, I'll get to that in a second. Sorry. The second one, if you plan to live on campus in the dorms or apartments, whatever the class may have, um, but it says then you will take how much you pay per semester for the dorm and divide it by 4 months, because that's about how many months you live on campus per semester. So you'll just go to the colleges, or you can just go to Google, type in the college and type in tuition and fees, or just type in housing, and it'll give you the cost per semester, and just divide that by 4, and that'll give you how much quote unquote your rent would be per month. Because like I said, if you're planning to live on campus, this is hypothetical, so that would be how much it would technically cost you to live on campus. So that would be your rent. Let's see. And a lot of times your meal plan is included, so you don't need to worry about that. The third one, if you plan to live with your parents and guardian while you're in college, you would divide the bills by how many people or how many adults, are in the household. So if it's you and just maybe one parent or guardian, or both your parents and guardian, or let's say it's you, your parents, guardian, and another sibling that's over 18. However many adults, divide the bills by however many there are. So bills would include electric, water, gas. Um, if you have a cable bill, if you have pay for an internet bill, anything like that, that's what you would put uh, as far as household bills. So you would do that, and then you would ask them hypothetically how much they would charge you for rent. So um, just ask them that, and that'll be how much your rent is per month if you were going to live at home during college. For the last one, tuition, I want the real cost of the college of your choice. So, regardless of the financial aid you're going to get, regardless of any kind of help that maybe your parents or guardian might help you with, I want the true cost to attend whatever college that you're picking, that you're going to use in this scenario. So, it would be just like the dorm. You would take the tuition cost per semester and divide it by 4. Because again, that's about how many months out of the year you're going to be on, how many months per semester you're on campus. So that would be your tuition cost. Oh, and I know that if you're in my Tennessee Martin class and you're watching this, I know that in Tennessee they have the Tennessee Promise, and it technically covers it. But again, I'm not asking for I'm not asking for anything like that. I just want you to put down the real true cost of what it will cost you to attend whatever university or college that you're going to pick. So again, just look up the cost per semester divided by 4. So that's the first budget, or the number one. Number two, you're going to create a second budget, and you're going to assume that you will live alone, so not in your parents' house. So when it comes to the second one, you cannot live with your parents. If you live with your parents in the first one, if that's what you plan to do while you're in college, or at least maybe the first 2 years while you're in college, this second chart, you can't live with them. So you'll have to move out and find a place to live. But assume you live alone and are poor, but above poverty as defined by the U.S. government. And this is completely ridiculous, but it's how our government defines not being in poverty. $268.33 a week, $1,073.33 a month, and then $12,880 a year. So basically, they're saying if you make right there close to $13,000, you're not in poverty, which is utterly ridiculous because there's so many factors that go into it, and it depends on region by region that you live. Cost of living is not the same one flat rate for everywhere in this country, so it's just ridiculous. I could go on, but I'll go ahead and move forward with this. Let's see here. So all of your expenses that you have listed in the first chart, including rent, food, gas, utilities, whatnot, must be within those income limits. So that $1,073.33 a month, that is technically what you, excuse me, that's technically what your limit will be on your budget. So your first one, your budget goes above that, you got to make cuts to make it fit into that $1,073.33 a month. If you look at those, you're writing this budget as if your financial aid will cover tuition and fees, but not living expenses. So that means you will not list tuition on the second budget. The reason I have you list it in the first budget is because it shows you how much it would truly cost to go to whatever school you're thinking about attending. It'll give you a realistic view of, oh wow, this is how much this college is really going to would cost per month. So excuse me. So that's why you list it in the first one, just to illustrate how much it would actually cost you if you had to pay out of pocket. The second one, budget, you don't list it because we're going to assume financial aid covers it. But it's not going to cover your living expenses. So, if you're living in the dorm or an apartment on campus, that is not covered. That will actually still need to be listed. And if that's more than the amount of your budget for 1073.33, or it takes up too much space, you'll have to move. But again, so you'll do that. Only list what you pay for on a monthly basis. So if there's something you pay in one lump sum or whatnot, don't include it. Just a month by month basis. Let's see. If your expenses are higher than your budget, make realistic cuts. And it gives an example. You cannot live on $5 a month for food. You may have to drop out of college, sell your car, or get a roommate for your budget to work. And I've had students where... Sorry, I apologize. I hate that I yawn so much. Apologize, but I've had students where they get 3 or 4 roommates to split the cost. So, you can get more than one roommate if you decide that that's something that you would like to do. So... that's an option as well. So those are the first two things. So you'll create that first budget, that second budget, and you'll get to the third part. And on the third one, after creating the budgets with the totals calculated, you're going to take a stance in this paper, arguing whether you think the poverty and welfare guidelines are realistic or not. So you'll tell me whether you think they're realistic or not. You can take either side of the argument. There's no wrong answer. I've had students take both sides. So whichever side you think is correct, I want you to go ahead and do that and tell me why. So you would support your argument with the chapter in the textbook, the stratification chapter, the in-class videos, Waging a Living, The Price of the American Dream, and also the nickel and dimed article. So you've got those different resources to use. You got 4 different ones right there that you can use to help support your argument. And then down here you have these bullets. If you answer these, you will have more than enough to get the required length, and I'll go through them. what expenses would you have to cut, and it gives examples in parentheses: gas, car, electric, phone, and so forth. What would it be to live like that? For example, if you can't afford a car, how would you get around? So tell me what expenses you would have to cut, or maybe what you would have to scale back on. I know a lot of people, when they've done this paper, they cut back on their phone plan. So instead of having like a real expensive plan, they get maybe like a basic, like a track phone or basic minutes phone with X amount of data on it. That's so. So tell me about those types of things in the paper. Could you live where you currently live during college? If you're going to live with your parents, again, in this hypothetical situation, in the second budget, you can't live with them. So, since you can't live with them, where would you live? You'll need to look online and look at areas where you could afford to live. You just go to Google and it'll be it's easy to find, and search for different places. Where are these locations? Give me the actual addresses. I do check these addresses, so don't give me a fake one. But I do want the actual address, so that way I know you're not just making something up. The third bullet, discuss the likelihood you would be able to afford college on your poverty budget. Do you have scholarships, or are you going to apply for some? Are your parents or guardians going to help you pay for college? Would another college or no college at all be more realistic? How would this affect your future? So in the second budget, like I said, we're not listing tuition. We're assuming it's covered by financial aid, but I want you to talk about and tell me, if you didn't have that financial aid, would you be able to afford college? Obviously, the answer is going to be no, because it wouldn't go mathematically. It wouldn't match with your budget. So, how would that? Tell me, how would that affect your future? As far as different things. And I'm looking at it goes into the next one. As far as quality of life, how would that change? As far as your future, marriage, kids, owning a home, vacations, retirements, would the budget allow you to do that? So talk about that. As far as, would those things be possible in the future, or if they're not, then kind of explain to me why. So those are some other things I want you to list. And the last one, what would you eat? I want you to describe the food to me. You don't have to give me a grocery list. I don't want a list that's going to be like that long. But I would like about 5 or 6 different items that you would have to eat regularly. So if you tell me that would be good. Just like I said, 5 or 6 items. You should be spending about $5 a day on food, so I want there to be at least $150 in food in your budget. You can have more, you can have as much for food as you want, but I want at least $150. So that's the minimum amount of food you have to have in your budget. If you flip the page, it's an opinion paper, so again, there's no right or wrong answer. So you can pick either side. But I do want you to utilize sociological concepts to make your arguments and be detailed. Excuse me. So, even though it's an opinion, if you don't have stuff backing up your opinion, you don't have information and sources to back up what you're saying, you don't have an argument. Your argument is very weak. So even though it's an opinion paper, you do need these sources. So make sure you utilize them. If you're not sure about citations, there are excuse me, documents online to help you with that. This paper should be 3 pages long, 12 font, double space, Times New Roman. Both charts should be attached at the end as separate pages. The charts, the cover page, and the works cited page do not count towards the length of the paper. Like I said, use ASA guidelines, and there are handouts online for you to look at, and you can always ask me to help you with that. So it tells you how it should be organized. The cover page, the 3 pages of paper, the works cited, the real budget, and the imaginary budget. So 7 pages total, minimum. And if you're in my Tennessee class, it's due on April 16th. And if you're in my ECTC class, it's due on April 18th. So again, for Tennessee Martin, April 16th. For ECTC, April 18th. 10% will be taken off each day for late papers, and after 3 days, I won't accept it. And now I'm going to make another short video going over the rubric and the citations with you guys.